What happens when trust in an icon of aviation begins to crumble, one customer at a time? The impasse comes at a critical moment for Boeing, which now faces a daunting combination of financial pressures and severe public relations challenges. After a string of scandals and tragedies, the aviation giant is steadily losing the confidence of airlines worldwide. From the Middle East to Europe and Asia, airlines that once signed record-breaking deals with Boeing are now stepping back, canceling orders, freezing contracts, and turning toward Airbus and other alternatives. While Boeing struggles to contain the fallout, Airbus quietly capitalizes, strengthening its foothold in the global market. The exodus has begun, and Boeing finds itself gradually left behind by former allies. Let's look at 7 airlines whose decisions illustrate how Boeing's recent troubles have pushed once loyal customers to say goodbye. Some loudly, some silently, but all signaling a shift that could redefine the future of commercial aviation. 1. Lion Air, the first break that started it all. In 2018, Lion Air Flight JT610 crashed into the Java Sea, just 13 minutes after departing from Jakarta, killing all 189 people on board. It was a devastating moment for Indonesia, and one of the worst aviation disasters in the country's history. The crash involved the Boeing 737 MAX 8, a new model touted for its safety and fuel efficiency. Instead, it exposed flaws that would trigger a worldwide crisis. By March 2019, not long after the accident, Lion Air announced it would cancel nearly 200 orders for the Boeing 737 MAX. This was no small deal. Lion Air was Indonesia's largest low-cost airline and the biggest 737 MAX customer in the Asia-Pacific region. In 2017, it had signed a contract worth about $22 billion with Boeing, betting its regional expansion on the MAX fleet. All of that vanished after a single catastrophic flight. Boeing tried to smooth things over, but the airline was firm. In a direct letter to Boeing's leadership, Lion Air declared its trust was irreparably broken and demanded a complete cancellation, pivoting instead to Airbus. Lion Air's dramatic exit triggered a chain reaction. Other airlines and even national aviation authorities began grounding the MAX, including Ethiopia Airlines, Air China, Singapore Airlines, and the FAA itself. Within 6 months, Boeing lost more than $55 billion in market value. The MAX was grounded globally for over 20 months. Lion Air's decisive move was the first stone in an avalanche. 2. Ryanair, a tough partner turns the screws. Ryanair, Europe's largest low-cost carrier, once had over 300 Boeing 737 MAX planes on order. But the airline's patience has worn thin for reasons beyond technical failures. Trade tensions between the US and EU now threaten to inflate costs by millions per plane. In May 2025, Ryanair CEO Michael O'Leary stated clearly that the airline would not allow political risks to derail operations. If tariffs raise the price of each Boeing by $7 or $12 million, Ryanair would switch to Airbus or even China's Comac C919. This blunt warning carried weight. Ryanair once symbolized a deep partnership with Boeing. Now, the airline openly weighs alternatives from the Airbus A321neo to the less familiar Comac, underscoring how Boeing's grip is loosening not just technically, but strategically. In response, Boeing's CEO promised investors that timely delivery was still a priority. But geopolitical realities are beyond engineering fixes, and Ryanair's shifting stance shows how vulnerable Boeing has become to factors it cannot control. 3. Garuda Indonesia. A national flag carrier takes a stand. For many Indonesians, the Lion Air tragedy broke not just trust in a plane, but in Boeing as a whole. Garuda Indonesia, the national airline, chose to reflect its country's collective sentiment by cutting ties with the 737 MAX. Garuda had 49 MAX planes worth nearly $6 billion on order, but amid investigations into the MCAS software at the heart of the crash, the airline pulled out. The reason was simple. Passengers no longer felt safe. No technical details were needed. Trust had evaporated. This was not a quiet change. Garuda's decision was seen as an official voice from Indonesia, Almost immediately, the airline began adding Airbus A330s and A320s to its fleet, replacing Boeing's role in domestic and regional routes. It was more than just changing planes. It was a statement that Garuda would not stake its reputation on Boeing again. 4. Qatar Airways. A major Middle Eastern player walks away. In May 2025, Qatar Airways canceled its order for 25 Boeing 737 MAX 10 aircraft. While not the largest order in its history, the timing spoke volumes. Originally, these planes were expected to join Qatar's fleet in early 2024. By mid-2025, Boeing had failed to deliver a single one, as the MAX 10 was still not fully certified. For Qatar Airways, known for exacting standards, the delays and uncertainty were unacceptable. Weeks after the cancellation, the airline expanded its contract with Airbus, ordering 50 more A321neo aircraft, many of which were delivered quickly and put into service. As of June 2025, Qatar Airways operates 42 A320neo and A321neo aircraft, and none from the MAX family. This quiet but clear pivot suggests that Boeing is no longer its default supplier, a shift with big implications for Boeing's presence in the Gulf. 5. China. A silent freeze from a giant market. While some airlines make headlines canceling orders, China has taken a subtler but more damaging path, a near-total freeze on new Boeing purchases. From early 2024 to April 2025, Boeing delivered only 6 aircraft to Chinese airlines, down from over 70 the previous year. Contracts under discussion, dozens of 737 MAX and 787 Dreamliner jets, are now indefinitely postponed. There was no official ban, just a quiet halt. Analysts say this is not about quality, but technology trust. Amid U.S.-China tensions, Beijing is wary of relying on American technology in critical sectors. Meanwhile, it aggressively supports its own COMAC CND-9 as a domestic replacement for the MAX on regional routes. Flight Global estimates Boeing could lose up to $4.5 billion in Chinese revenue in 2025 alone, as Airbus signs deals for over 100 new A320neo jets in the same period. Boeing's competitive position in Asia's biggest aviation market looks bleaker than ever. 6. Virgin Australia. A silent withdrawal. Virgin Australia never issued a dramatic breakup with Boeing. Instead, it quietly stepped away. The airline originally planned to operate over 50 737 MAX aircraft, but after the Lion Air and Ethiopian Airlines crashes, plus the global MAX grounding, Virgin reconsidered. The pandemic hit next, shrinking travel demand and giving the airline further reason to cut back. Virgin canceled most of its MAX orders, retaining just 25 MAX 10 jets, and even those deliveries have been repeatedly delayed. At the same time, Virgin added more Airbus A320neo and A321XLR aircraft, favored for fuel efficiency and flexibility. Without saying so outright, Virgin's actions signal a realignment. Observers see this as part of a broader trend in Oceania, where airlines increasingly prefer Airbus for short-haul routes. Virgin's slow fade did not make headlines, but might prove one of Boeing's costliest losses in the region. 7. Fly a deal. When trust is non-negotiable. The last name on this list is Fly a Deal, a low-cost airline owned by Saudi Arabian Airlines. In March 2019, Ethiopian Airlines Flight 302 crashed, the second MAX crash in 5 months. Just 4 months later, Fly a Deal canceled all 30 of its Boeing 737 MAX orders, swiftly and decisively. The airline replaced them with Airbus A320neo jets instead. At the time, Fly a Deal was expanding domestically in Saudi Arabia's booming low-cost market. Safety was non-negotiable. Without explicitly referencing the crashes, the airline made it clear that passenger trust came first. For Boeing, losing Fly a Deal meant losing a foothold in a region where narrow-body dominance once seemed secure. Since then, Fly a Deal has kept adding A320neos, repositioning itself as an Airbus customer and distancing its future from Boeing. From the very public severance of Lion Air to the quiet exit by Virgin Australia, these stories share a theme: trust. Once lost is hard to regain. Airlines worldwide are showing that they will not wait indefinitely for technical fixes, regulatory assurances, or trade negotiations to settle. As Airbus logs record orders and new competitors like Comac prepare to expand, Boeing faces more than financial losses. It risks losing an identity built over decades as the unchallenged titan of commercial flight. In an industry where safety and trust outweigh any brand name, this is a reality Boeing can no longer ignore.